launch ecosystem, catalyzing capacity, competition, and global reach. For this, I have the privilege to invite following dignitaries on the dais: Mr. Sireesh Pallikonda, who is the Vice President, Business Development, Skyroot, Aerospace; Mr. Giritharan, Chief of Staff, Co-Founders, Office of Agnikul; Mr. Sudheer Kumar, former Director, CBPO, ISRO Headquarters. He is also the chair and the moderator for this session. And I would like to hand over the mic to Mr. Sudheer Kumar.
Thank you. Welcome to the first session of today. I think after seeing the Axiom 4 mission, probably I think everybody would have rejuvenated themselves to be on the launch vehicle, even though it's a pretty challenging task. Okay, to start the session, probably I think Indian launch ecosystem and how actually it is becoming global. What are the competencies, what is the skill sets that are required, what are the challenges that are ahead of us, what are the opportunities and what are the impediments. Probably I think it's a very small panel. Thank God that always when we come to this kind of sessions, we fall short of time because only 3 people and we have to spend an hour or so. I think a good amount of deliberations can happen, and I'm also requesting the participants to freely raise their let's say views or questions, because probably answers may not be there directly on front, but some concerns if you can raise, probably the organizers can note of them. If you don't have any direct answers, in some of the answers are there, probably we cannot speak out openly. That would be a right approach, probably to give a thought process, to initiate a thought process for the SIA to take up with the concerned authorities. Especially after the space reforms, over a period of 1960s or late 60s, if you say the Indian space program started, it has gone into different troughs and subs. Different technologies have been denied, and some of the companies, they have come forward to help us, like Vikas Engine Experiments or development with Viking, France. And some of the technologies which we have nurtured, we have failed, we have succeeded, and we have done. And India has got, ISRO has got a very legacy of development, whether it is SLV or ASLV or PSLV or GSLV, with the help of initial Russian stages, 7 stages we had to start the program. Later we have developed our own CUSP, cryo upper stage, to augment the GSLV Mark II, we call it as, now GSLV. We call it as LVM3 as the next generation, GSLV Mark III. GSLV Mark III is one of the successful, I should say, I'm proud to say that I am part of that project along with Somnath sir. We had very tough times to qualify various subsystems, infrastructure building, and rocket science is not a rocket science, people say. So there are different challenges in terms of materials, in terms of propulsion, in terms of let us say characterization, in terms of aerodynamics, in terms of control systems, in terms of whatnot. It is really a rocket science. It is not a joke. When I see the boys sitting left to me, how much struggle they were doing, because when we started our journey, maybe 2000 onwards, because especially I spent almost 25 to 26 years in ISRO, we know the difficulties. Even getting the material, shaping the material in small quantities, qualifying them, ground testing them, we know the difficulties. But with all the difficulties, I should say that the Indian space ecosystem is playing a good role. Because the gestation periods, we have started our GSLV Mark III program. The project team constitution has happened in 2003, and we have done the first launch in 2007 and beyond. That too, a optimal launch. I should not say that it's a full launch. And commercialization, fortunately, Chandrayaan was there, very bold step. immediately after the first commercial mission, after the let us say development, 3 missions, of course 3 missions are very successful, that is to our choice. We have ventured into Chandrayaan 2. And next second mission itself, OneWeb mission, 2 missions we have done, ISRO has done. Usually in the development front, in the first commercial mission, second commercial mission, taking such kind of prestigious mission of launching 36 satellites in 3 or 4 phases. I could see when we were there in the control room, how the cryo stage was dancing. It was unique. So the crux of the thing is the Indian ecosystem, Indian launch vehicle ecosystem, the scientists participating in that programs, developing ab initio. It's totally organic and totally, I should say that it is based on textbooks we have picked up. So the same thing, whatever has been done in 70s, it is replicating. Many Sarabhai would have taken rebirth in such a kind of boys, and maybe a clone would have come. These guys are developing. But a question comes where the ISRO, what role ISRO is going to play with the private ecosystem, not only in the development, but also in the marketing. How we would be vocal, because these are all the real things to be debated in a forum like this. If you take global perspective, even though 7% to 8% is the launch vehicle market share, but ultimately without this particular share, you cannot create the complementary 95%, 92%. Now satellite building has become now reasonably a kind of compromising situation in the industry. But of course application is more, let us say, democratic. Indian parties are there, foreign parties are there. But when it comes to the launch vehicle, the capability building is very niche. And the important challenge is transporter. When a giant is throwing the launch opportunities at a damn low cost and without even getting filled, that's what the public says. Most of the transporter missions are not fully booked. In spite of that, like a ride share when they are offering, what kind of benchmarks or what kind of, let us say, policies or what kind of challenges we can adopt using such kind of missions, who will take risk of under booking the launch, is really a challenge to enter into the global market. While small satellite launch vehicles globally, many countries, you take Germany, you take UK, you take USA, you take Australia, you take any company, they are developing their own small satellite launch vehicles catering to 100 kg, 150 kgs to 1 ton. India is also in the race, but of course before the private sector companies in India start working on the small satellite launch vehicles, ISRO has come out with a version SSLV which primarily designed and developed for the industry. See, one question has come in Dubai, they have posed to me, when the private startups are doing the small satellite launch vehicle, why ISRO has to develop? Yes, it is a pertinent and relevant question. But the question is, okay, it's all policies. When the project gets approved quite some time back, we have to, government has to complete it. That is the order. But where actually they will complement each other is the subject that we have to see, and we have to plan. The complementary to each other, the not going into the encroaching into the other businesses, and giving, in my personal capacity or opinion, giving more advantage to the startups is a question. For that, yes, the startups or the companies have to raise to the occasion, they have to qualify, they have to establish the perfection, or they have to establish the reliability of their systems to grab the commercial markets, international markets. One challenge is, somewhere Electron is only the successful SSLV globally, not very many. And their price, if I take maybe 20 to 23,000, it's not very public, but much more than that one. But compared to that one, when you say The transporter price, throw away, not even 50%, less than 50%. So when such kind of frugal things are happening, how actually will market penetration? What is the go-to-market strategy? How actually the policies will enable us? It is not that the freedom of going abroad should be curtailed. Everybody should have a freedom to go to the foreign launches. But at the same time, how we protect our own business interests is the challenge behind or in front of not only the government companies, but also private companies. Thanks that 2 days back, there was a news that SSLV got awarded to, TOT got awarded to HAL. And that HAL, let us say, production or commercialization should definitely generate some kind of business for the Tier 2 and Tier 3 industries. But again, the question is, how do you penetrate? The way the Elon Musk is penetrating, the way the other models are penetrating, how do you penetrate? How to be very competitive, how to be very reliable to the systems is order of the day. Probably I have just put the thought process across when foreign launch vehicles, George is here, he was also advising Blue Origin and other companies. He is also looking for some engagements how Indian industry can take part. But the same way, how actually we penetrate not only into Indian market, but also into foreign market. What kind of support the government of India gives? See, today ASRA has been what you call from public, withdrawn from the public listed thing which we know. What support they get from USA? Similarly, Electron, to what extent the launch support it gets from government, so that at least to absorb some of the losses or some of the things which we cannot put through for the commercial front. So this is more important for us to debate. What kind of business proposition that we put it across with the government? How government will enable not only going to the commercial market globally or locally, but also how government will support in terms of not grant, but in terms of let us say number of launches. For that one, the down segment has to be increased, the mid segment has to be increased. These are all challenges a launch vehicle market or launch vehicle domain is facing. Probably we will get to know more from these two gentlemen who are really at the verge of let us say pushing, throwing the pieces to the market for globalization or for commercialization. We will probably, I think we will maybe 5 to 10 minutes we can spend. So I expect you have actually more than your success stories. I would like to listen from you. What kind of problems that you are facing? Otherwise, you can get into the commercial market and grab a good amount of market share. And what kind of policies or what kind of let us say support that you expect from the ecosystem and from the government of India. So that angle I just would like to listen from you. Probably we will leave the time, some time is available, we'll leave it for question answer session. Probably I think next round probably I'll go for a specific questions, because I know both sides of the coin. I'll go for specific questions. Okay, over to you, Suresh.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, sir. So this is Sireesh, Vice President, Skyroot for Business Development. And to give you a brief introduction about Skyroot, we are one of the leading private launch vehicle company, and we are developing a launch vehicle called Vikram series. So we can take payload from 200 kilograms to 1 ton capacity at this point of time. And we are the first Indian company to launch a rocket to space in 2022 that we achieved with our suborbital launch vehicle called Vikram S. And we are gearing up for our orbital launch. In a couple of months, we will be having first private orbital launch from India. And so far, we have raised an investments of close to $100 million, and currently we have close to 500 to 550 employees. Okay, at Skyroot. And we successfully, crossing all the milestones which are required for our orbital launch. So yeah, that's about the Skyroot. And coming back to the questions, what put by, or the food for thought which has been put by Sudheer sir. So that brings to a question, why the space race, okay, is happening, or access to the space is more accelerating. So if we look at the other side of it, like the number of satellites which has to be launched to the space, it's not just booming, but it is also diversifying. So when I say diversifying, usually it used to be in communication satellites or Earth observation satellite, but it is going much beyond now. Now new applications are coming. Even biotech companies, they want to launch payload and try to develop something, manufacturing space. Semiconductor industry is trying to have their own satellites and many more applications. And day before yesterday, we have seen from SpaceX, like somebody has sent the ashes to the space for the mortal remains and everything. So the applications are very, very, very diverse. When so many diverse applications are coming up, there is a huge demand which is been building up on the launch vehicle. So with that scenario, the country whichever is having launch vehicle is the new currency for it. So the country with launch vehicle will be much ahead in the race. And we have all the right ingredients or the points which have been well developed by ISRO over decades, and with the policy and the support from the government and everything, that's been translated to the private industry, and that's how the whole development is happening. If we look at India, okay, which used to be more state-centric, it has been open to the more private, and where we have industry, research institutions, and also the investors coexist in this ecosystem, and everybody is putting their best effort to take this forward. And being competition on or the demand on the one side, we have certain strategic advantages of being India, where going back to the benchmark or the comparison, Sudheer sir, what he has made between SpaceX and Rocket Labs. So the coexistence of both, where somebody who can deliver a payload for close to $7,000 per kilogram or something to $40,000. Look, we can see a huge gap in between. When these two are coexisting, we need to bring back our question back to ourselves: how is it possible? Okay, so the answer is, okay, even though SpaceX is offering, okay, at lower price, still there is a huge demand for the special inclinations or the dedicated launches. That is where we precisely position ourselves. And as a geography, India, we have capabilities of going for the low inclinations or the sun synchronous and everything. So it is not quite common with all the countries. So such a beautiful access what we have, and this we need to take this to our advantage and capitalize on this one.
So good afternoon everyone. My name is Giritharan. So I'm from Agnikul. I'm the chief of staff there. So firstly, I would like to thank SIA for arranging this event and giving us a forum to address the pain points that we are facing. And it's very happy to be part of this panel along with Sudheer sir. So I don't know whether you remember these conversations, sir, like during our launch. So we have done our first launch year back. So during that, anytime when I need help in terms of media interactions, my go-to person is Sudheer sir. When I went to ISRO headquarters for our reviews, launch clearance reviews, I was there in sir room getting his thought process in how to exactly position ourselves, market, all those things. And then our launch, there were a couple of holes that has happened, right, during our launch. So during that time also, I went to Sudheer sir and he be like, no, don't worry guys, it will be done. And thanks for all those encouraging words, sir, and support. So I think this is one of the good examples that how government is helping us, how ISRO is helping us, and InSpace is helping us, right? So in our case, like, and again, Sireesh, it's happy to be part of a panel along with you. And as Sireesh mentioned, Skyroot has done the first launch that was obviously a successful execution of the policy level change that happened in the country. In our case, there were few other things that happened, like, there were few technological things that we have adopted for the first time. For example, the engine that we adopted, single piece 3D printed engine. We are the first in the world to make such engine, and it was very tedious for us to derive a qualification process for such engine. And fortunately we had experts from ISRO, and we also had our own ISRO advisors who helped us in deriving this entire qualification process for that engine. And in terms of electronics, we adopted Ethernet architecture. So we imagine the entire architecture in such a way that we have multiple computers running Linux in it, connected through an Ethernet cable. So that was very new for India also at that time, even now. So it was very challenging to get qualified those technology. And one important challenge we had is our launch pad. So we established India's first private launch pad. So it was very hard to qualify that launch pad on other end, and find a location, set up things. And we were executing semi-cryogenic mission, which again ISRO has tested it, but no rocket has been launched in the entire Indian history. So pulling these technological things together in a single launch was a nightmare for us. And InSpace and ISRO has put in enough efforts to help us in this entire journey. Right? Every single review, there were a bunch of experts who were telling us, what to do, what not to do. They were literally helping us. I still remember, right? Our mission readiness and launch clearance review that happened, that is happening at 10 o'clock. At 6:30, there was an InSpace person who was sitting with me, helping me preparing the slides. This really happened on that day, right? So that's the level of support that we received from everyone, and we are grateful to ISRO and people like Sudheer sir for all the support that helped us in doing technological things which we never done in India till now, right? And coming to the expectation from our side, so first is on the global market, as sir mentioned, there are multiple companies who are on the launch segment. There are SpaceX, there is Rocket Labs who has cracked it, right? So in terms now, in our case, it is all about proving our capabilities, right? Even though SpaceX is doing launches every week, today for any customer who has to, or any small satellite who has to reach to space, the waiting time is around 2 years. Right? We can even go to rideshare.spacex.com and check where the slots are available. A direct slot with SpaceX is somewhere in 2027 February. So that's where people like us are coming in, helping people to get to space in a way that they want. I think the market today needs flexibility, right? So this is the only sector where a customer has to obey what a vendor is telling, which is nowhere present, right? Even for someone who is making small machine component, or you buy something from a grocery store, the customer has a say in it. But today in the launch segment market, unfortunately, that's not the case. So that's where we are coming in, where we want to flip this entire market, where a customer has to tell where he wants to go, when he wants to go, right? Whether he wants to ride share or go alone. All those options, the customer has to decide. Right? So that's where we are coming in, and we are helping people to get there. So all these technologies that we are building are instruments that are enabling us. For example, a single piece engine, it's where, so this is helping us to reduce the entire manufacturing time. A conventional engine will take at least 7 to 8 months to manufacture, but in our case it's only 3 days. We can put some powder, 150 kgs of powder in a printer, and we can get it in 3 days, do some post-processing, put it in the rocket and fly. And we are also working towards mobile launch pad that can be set up in multiple places. So Sireesh mentioned there are some special inclination people has to target. For that, this setting up launch pads in multiple places would be very much important, because the launch location has an influence in the orbit that they can reach. That's the reason India is setting up one more launch pad in Kulasegarapatnam other than Sherikota, right? So setting up multiple launch pads, again, setting up permanent infrastructure will cost huge. So that's where we are coming up with mobile launch pads, where we can go to a place, launch through a truck and come back wherever we are doing, right? So these mobile launch pads, and we are building configurable vehicles where the first stage has multiple engines. We can fly with 4, 5, 6 or 7 engines based on the demands of the customer, so that the per kg cost will be flat, right, from 30 to 300 kg. So these are the technical innovation that we are bringing in with the help of ISRO and InSpace that will help customer to the last mile. So I think that's where we, as Indian market, like we are positioning ourselves different from the global market. Again, obviously there is a cost advantage when it comes to India that comes not only in Indian perspective. There are some technologies that both of us are working on that is making us unique in the market, and obviously will help us to access multiple customers in the international space as well. And in terms of Indian support, again, now government is coming up with multiple initiatives like privatization of SSLV, and also there is something called satellite bus as a service which InSpace is now doing. There are multiple other initiatives ISRO and InSpace is coming along with other ministries that is giving business to us, right? So that will help us to prove our credibility. So any customer that we are going and talking, the question is about the launch cadence. So yeah, obviously initial missions we can do with some customers taking their test payloads, but if Indian government trusts us and give us some payloads to deliver, right, that will increase the reliability of us in the global market, and that will position us unique in the market. So that's what us humbly expect from the government of India as support, right? So that will help us.
I think Sireesh and Giri brought out two pertinent points. One is launch on demand. Another one is customization. Obviously, you see, when you take transport or ride share method, it is like a shuttle. It will drop you on the road. Reaching your home is your headache. But when you go to, and second thing is small experiment values. See, very interesting thing is when Bharati Antariksha Station, when it is planned to be commissioned in a couple of, let us say, years or in a decade to come, and Gaganyaan missions, Chandrayaan 2 continued missions are there, the indication from inside the government is there are n number of technologies we have to prove. These n number of technologies, we cannot depend on PSLV or bigger launch vehicles, and these are all to supplement Giri's point is, so what we get an indication from the government is definitely some technology demonstration are going to come which requires maybe 40 kg, 50 kg payloads. That is one aspect. The second thing is, thanks to IDEX, it is an amazing move really Government of India, Ministry of Defence has taken. They have shown how actually an ecosystem will be built from the scratch when nothing was there. When nothing was there, if people do not know anything about the component or anything about a subsystem, they were given free, because believe me, I was part of the IDEX, I was co-secretary of IDEX, let us say, partnership. When we were signing, we were thinking that really this space startups will do. Today we ourselves are scratching our own thought processes, rather scrapping our own thought process. These guys will do anything. When I meet the startups and seeing their innovation, probably there is no such exaggeration. Probably even ISRO scientists may not be thinking in the way these startup boys are thinking. Frankly, I am telling you. Because the scientists who are grown organically, they have a systematic, they have a sequential approach. And there is a role distribution. Whereas in the startup, one guy will handle 10 items. And he will have a very good systematic system engineering. And ISRO, we got point like Sindhur, go and hit point. But the startups will have a more generalistic approach. I know especially these two companies, when they are telling Skyroot, the first in launching, whereas Agnikul, when we used to go to Sriharkota, these girls, maybe hardly 24 years, they were running the cables along the road. I said, because we don't even go to that road, especially where the launch pad was, it is extremely south part of the Sriharkota island. There are snakes, there are not very many wild animals were there, and we are afraid. These children, they will go and during day and night, they were establishing the connectivity from the control room in the beautiful containers to the launch pad. So such kind of effort when they are taking, obviously success only would be the next milestone. We are confident that these two connect. But I have a launch pad. I have a question to you. See, you have developed your own launch pad, and the mobility when it comes into picture, especially probably the defense may require such kind of mobility, because since private, the reason of they giving it to the private, the launch vehicle system, opening up the domain is the strategic purposes also the private sector will participate. So in that, one question to you is, Giri, is let's say how flexible these launch pads are, because in this range safety point of view and in the let us say practical point of view, how it is possible to establish a launch pad at multiple locations and still carry out the launch operations?
Sir, in terms of flexibility, again, launch anywhere it does, but it doesn't mean anywhere. If there is an authorized launch location, which is the safety radius that we, as you rightly said, the range safety part of it, where so when a rocket is flying, it will do multiple maneuvers, right? So there will be a band which we'll establish. If the rocket is going beyond the band, the rocket will be destroyed, like to put it simple. So that's how the range safety part will work. And that destruction part should not happen over a habitual area. So to put some context to that question. So that particular place has to be carefully chosen, sir. So if the place has been established, then it's all about moving our skids. So I think you have visited our launch pad. So everything is built with skids. Everything is a 6-meter skid that we have built. And 6-meter, why we have chosen is there are 20 feet standard containers available, shipping containers. So we can put the skids inside those shipping container and ship to any place. And we can, the launch pad that Sir was mentioning, we assembled that entire launch pad in 2.5 weeks time period, right? So the skids can be carried to any place, and we can put it out with some safety radius, all the calculation. And the base pedestal for the first launch, we made it semi-mobile. In fact, the skids were assembled in IIT Madras in our own testing facility, where we did a stage test, and then we transported the skids to Sherikota. So there itself we have tested this mobile launchpad to some extent. So those skids can be transported to any place. Let's say if we are setting up in Kulasekarapuram, sir, we can take it and put those skids. Again, the trailer part now we are working on. We can move along with the trailer and launch from there. And the vehicle is also mobile, because we haven't put any solid propellant in the vehicle. We are fully semi-cryogenic, both stages, and even the separation system we are using pneumatic. Because it doesn't have any solid, we can easily move around in any place. So that's the design choice that we have taken during our first development itself.
Quite interesting, quite interesting. Sireesh, one important point he brought it is, there is a launch on demand and transportability, flexibility. If solid propellant, launch on demand is very easy. And transportability wise, let us say wherever you produce, transporting to a launch pad and making the final integration and testing, because even mobility also something may happen, debonding, something like that. So what is your take on transportability and mobility point of view? What kind of, let us say, precautions, or what kind of, let us say, flexibilities are there with solid propellant stages?
Yeah, thanks for the question, sir. So at Skyroot, our vehicle is combination of solid propellant, liquid propellant, and some cryogenic engines, okay, cryogenic technology. So we worked across the different propulsion technologies, and the design what we adopted from the beginning is quite modular in nature. So it's easy to integrate from Vikram 1 to 2 or Vikram 2 to 3, because that is the reason why I've given a range like from 200 to more than 1 ton is what we can carry. And because of this innovation what we have in modularity, we can integrate the whole launch vehicle within 72 hours and would be ready for the launch. And the upper stage, we call it as an orbit adjustment module. So with this, we can have accuracy of orbit injection to 0.2 degrees, and also if little inclination changes or any orbit raise or something or station keeping which need to be done, that could be achieved with this upper stage. And apart from that, as you said, launch on demand, this would be a perfect solution. The reason is we can have them inventory, we can place them like whenever it is required, we can integrate within 72 hours and would be ready for the launch.
Yeah, I agree with you, because now we have a heritage of moving PS0 motors, H2 or Japanese also in the same run. When new generation launch vehicles are coming up, and India is also gearing up for new generation launch vehicle for carrying out heavy lifts to the LEO and geo orbits. Probably I think this decade would have been a very wonderful decade, seen both ups and downs. One side we have successful launches, another side globally we have unsuccessful attempts, say Kumar or iSpace or such kind of things. What had happened? Rocket is not a easy science. It has got its own let us say gestation periods, and we cannot blame the people, because when the technology is a very crucial, lots of regulations are there to get the technology, to nurture the technology, to prove the technology, to test the technology, and to productionize it. In spite of all these challenges, I hope Indian ecosystem is doing a good job, and ISRO is also helping, and InSpace is doing an amazing job I should say. The purpose of creating an InSpace is now where the India is seeing, but InSpace, as Somnath sir has mentioned in the last somewhere in ISPA meeting or somewhere, we have ISRO and government has been supporting for technological front. Now the business front also the government has to create, because the sustainability of all these technologies depends on the sustainability on the business development. If government becomes at least 50% anchor customer, and definitely you will bring it out and you will go for customization. Hope that the next decade should be a good future for the Indian space industry, not only for launching satellites and launching the different subsystems, but also supplying subsystems to the global customers. That is important, and diversifying them. I hope I thank the panelists, both the Sireesh and Giri, for speaking out from their inner heart. And I am also a bit vocal, because I am no longer now with the ISRO bit vocal. I thank all participants, even though I intended to give you some time. If organizers permit, 1 or 2 questions. Otherwise, we will say thanks to all the participants. Thank you. Will you give 1 or 2 questions, or
Yeah, sure.
no issue?
No issue, sir.
If any questions are there, we will take. Please, sir. You can pass on this mic.
I am Captain KK Agnikul. Sir, I am Captain KK Agnikul. I am in the National Maritime Foundation in Delhi. It's a think tank. There is some familiarity factor with regard to Skyroot. I searched for their success story on the internet, and I used certain slides of Vikram S to impress the Taiwanese, Vietnamese, as well as the Singaporeans with regard to the startup success stories. Taking your example, I never thought I will meet somebody in person, but I'll catch you after this. The point is that the topic was global reach. With regard to global reach, I know that I've been interacting with the people in Taiwan Space Agency, and they have got a huge proposal with regard to everything related to satellites, including the launch system, including small satellites, including payloads, including components. Now, I have been pitching there saying that India has got everything. We have got ISRO, and we also have a body of SIL, and it's a civilian-led program, so not understanding whatever are our limitations with regard to Taiwan, China recognition, there are ways forward. So my question actually is, and I also know that there are some startups of India which went on the SIA platform itself last year to showcase their proficiencies there. So is there actually some kind of a proposal? Of course, the moderator has asked this question. Is there some kind of a proposal to interact with such countries, particularly countries like Taiwan, despite the governmental policy and those kind of recommendations? And while talking of Singapore, sir, one small question from moderator. Singapore satellites, micro and mini satellites we have been launching. I again searched the internet and saw that around 30 satellites out of 55 have been launched by us. But when you see their international coordination partners, collaborator partners, neither ISRO nor NSIL, forget about these startups, nothing is mentioned. So maybe you would like to tell as to why.
Sireesh, you first address.
Yeah, we've been quite active in global engagement, and when it comes to the countries such as Taiwan, like previously ISRO has also launched some satellites for Taiwan, and indeed Skyroot would be launching a satellite for Taiwan, which is a satellite of COSPAR, and that is being developed in Taiwan. So probably towards Q1 next year that we would be launching that. So we are state secret. Yeah, so it's for the COSPAR. So COSPAR is like no secret. It's for the common good. And similarly, we've been engaged with many multiple countries. Like looking forward to their business as well.
See, to answer your next question, the economy drives the technology, whether anybody accepts it or not. And second thing is diplomacy will enable the such kind of technological issues. That's what exactly I was telling. So today, if you ask an ISRO scientist, a technocrat heading ISRO, if you ask on policy matters, if you ask on many matters, I know the problems that probably don't call it as problems at secretary level, but enablers. So that is the reason the bureaucracy plays a big role in the business development. You have seen how the national highways getting transformed. You have seen how the railways are getting transformed. You have seen the semiconductor industry is getting transformed. You have seen the IT, how it got transformed and minting billions. Here the technology is the capability. How this capability has to be, let us say, commercialized or leveraged for economic growth requires highest level decisions. This is my personal thing, because I am so confidently I am telling. This is the decisions to be taken. I think now present government is very famous for such taking out of the box decisions. Probably it has to go to their level. Look, this is the potential. In your 5 trillion economy, this could play a big role. Diplomacy comes into picture when you say Taiwan. Why Taiwan? Argentina, you take Chile, you take South Africa, you take any country, Kenya. They're all looking at India as the partners. Why? They will not approach China and Russia. USA, which day, what? Because these are all very high level, let's say, diplomatic issues. And in terms of that, then universal brotherhood, when our top, when approach the countries, when they talk, diplomacy plays a role. That's what I strongly feel MEA and DPIT, they can create a platform for economic development in the space sector if they think that this is the area of concern. Very simple. Yes, right. Can you pass on this mic?
Thank you, sir. So there is a saying in Bedouin, I and my brother against my cousins, and I, my brother and my cousins against the tribe. So while I understand there's a healthy competition, Agnikul is here, Skyroot is here, there'll be another SSLV player, will be competing amongst each other for the Indian market and the global market. Is there something that we can do collaboratively, because we are also competing against global players, global launch players, to create a brand like Launch from India, so that the efforts of one, the success of one rubs on to another, and the success of the second one rubs on to the third one? Would there be advice from both of you for SIA-INDIA as to what we could do to support a Launch from India brand?
I'll answer that one. Because it is a bit, see, if you take transporter, exo-launch, nanoracks, space flight, these are all the people who has got idea and launch schedules, and who has got a good knowledge about the entire ecosystem and organization. Yeah, we are closing. This one, okay. India requires, you know, we have discussed this particular topic. India requires a moderator who probably take the schedule of all the three so-called launch providers, including NSIL, okay, including NSIL. And NSIL also, thanks God that SSLV now, it has been given to the TOT. And TOT, as per the terms conditions, as I know personally, the market has to be identified by the TOT holder. Now in a way, SSLV is also becoming an independent body for looking for the customers. I think it is a high time for now to have such kind of platform and get the global demand. Consolidators or brokers or mediators, you call it as consolidation, has to happen to grab the market, because 3 to 4 years before you have to fix the launches. And the satellite building has to start with which launch vehicle it is going. If you lose that one, ultimately entire international market, a big chunk of internal market we are going to lose. Please initiate such kind of activities from SIA side for such kind of moderation. It is a very good field, not only helps the customers but also helps the launch vehicle service providers. Thank you for positive time. Thanks for giving additional 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, thanks a lot.
Achha, one last question for Mr. Giritharan. You mentioned about you know, this 3D printed engine and the material used. What is the material used there?
Inconel.
Pardon?
Inconel. It's a nickel alloy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
No, sir, just a second. As a token of gratitude and appreciation, we would like to present mementos to our eminent speakers. May I request Mr. Sudheer Kumar to present memento to Mr. Sireesh. And now to Mr. Giritharan. Now I request Mr. Rajiv Gambhir, Deputy DG, SIA-INDIA, to present memento to Mr. Sudheer Kumar. Now I would request everyone on the dais to take stand in the front for the photo. Before we break, I would like to take a moment to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the dignitaries on the